The fourth round of the tournament, a handshake, and the clock begins. Very excited for this encounter. E4 by Vincent Keymer. Let's see what Pragg begins with. Ooh, he plays the French defense. Now, Vincent doesn't play E4 a lot, but he does love playing that against Pragg. And you know, last time Pragg played the Karo Khan against him at Tata Steel, and now he plays the French defense, D5. And what is Vincent's option going to be? Knight c3. Sometimes I do remember that Vincent was part of Gukesh's team where Ding Liren was trying to play the French. So Vincent would have some really sneaky prep in that. We have the win hour variation, which is one of the sharpest lines in the opening theory because, you know, black is trying to give up the very important dark squared bishop, doubling the pawns. But Vincent goes for a slightly sideline there. A3 is the main move, but he goes bishop d2, breaking the pin. And he gets up. He's like, Pragg, have you prepared for this? Well, Pragg thinks for 4 minutes and plays knight to e7. And that's a good move because now after knight b5, you take and you can castle so that knight d6 doesn't come with a check. And that's the point of playing knight to e7. Maybe Vincent will now push the bishop away and force it to take a call. Yes, he plays it, a3. And I believe you have to take because if you go bishop a5, I'll simply capture the pawn and be better. So Pragg takes here, bishop c3. And now taking back with the bishop makes sense. That's why you got your bishop here. So now you don't have the doubled pawns. Your bishop looks a bit silly on c3, you must agree. But on the other hand, Pragg goes b6. He wants to trade the bishops with bishop a6. That's the main line here because this is your problem piece. Well, Vincent goes h4. He wants to gain space on the king side. Also, this rook lift, not to be underestimated there. And now, maybe bishop a6 is the normal move, but Pragg is thinking here. He's making sure what to do. He goes knight c6. Maybe not the best idea, perhaps, because now what are you going to do with your bishop? It's kind of not a great piece, right? But Pragg says, well, I can live with it. It's not a big deal. At least I get my opponent out of his prep. And there you see, Vincent now has to think a bit. He goes h5 after 8 minutes. So Pragg actually preferred getting his opponent out of prep over playing perhaps the best opening line. That's modern chess for you guys. h5, trying to get in, h6, weakening the dark squares in the position. Queen c7 played, putting the queen on a good file here on the c file, but also very importantly putting pressure on the e5 pawn. That's an important thing. The knight comes out to f3. And now maybe there's some chance like take, knight takes, queen takes and chopping this off, but it's not a great idea. I go bishop d3, I castle, I quickly get my rook to c1 and you are lagging behind in development. So Pragg goes knight f5. So this is a mistake actually. Here perhaps the best move was h6, but he went knight f5 and Vincent very quickly goes bishop b5. Fantastic move. He's now going to take out this knight on c6 and then kick away this knight with g4. So bishop d7 played. Okay, black is threatening now to take like mass trades on d4 and then just the major piece endgame would be completely fine. But Vincent takes on c6. Very good move. Bishop takes. And now bishop takes. And it's time to kick the knight away with g4. Yes, he does it. g4. And the point being, if you take, bishop takes, pawn takes, and now queen takes, white is completely better with a good knight versus bad bishop scenario. So he goes back knight to e7 here. And now h6 played, weakening the king side even further. Maybe there was other opportunities like queen d2, long castle and so on, but h6 makes a lot of sense. And Pragg takes it. Well, g6 would have been catastrophic on the dark square. So takes. And now Vincent takes back the pawn. Rook takes h6 comes in. The h7 pawn is soft. White is doing very well here. But Pragg makes this very pragmatic move. Rook g8. Point being, if you take here, I can take on g4 and my knight gets this f5 square. Ooh, g5 played by Vincent. He's giving up this all-important f5 square, but on the other hand, he says, I'm going to win your h7 pawn and I'll be a complete pawn up. So, Pragg takes now on d4. And while Pragg does have play now, sort of moving, but he's going to lose this pawn on h7. Bishop d4. Knight can jump to f5, but there will be rook takes h7. He goes bishop b5. Very interesting. Look at this. It's opposite colored bishops, light square, dark square. I can get in on the light squares. Bishop b5 played. a4, the best move in the position. It's actually a huge advantage for Vincent out of the opening. Bishop a6. And now getting in here, rook h7 played. It takes the pawn on h7. And rook c8 is on the board. Wow, look at this. He takes the pawn, he's attacking here, and Pragg is provoking him to play c3. He plays it. By the way, Vincent should not have taken the h7 pawn. He could have been better, but now you can see after queen comes into c4, all the light squares have become even more weak. Queen c4 on the board. Wow, and the bishop on d4, which looked like an amazing piece, has somehow become like a pawn now. Rook h1, stopping queen f1 check. And what do? Do you go knight f5? He goes knight c6. This is a powerful move by Pragg. He's actually moving to a5 with his knight to stop b, to kind of take control of the b3 square. Vincent goes rook g1, defending the pawn on g5, also just controlling the f1 square. But now h8 can be captured, and that's what Pragg does. He takes the open file. You can see how little by little Pragg is gaining ground in the position. From having an excellent position, Vincent has slid into a dangerous one. He goes b3, and rightly so. The queen on c4 along with this bishop was menacingly placed on this diagonal. Queen d3, offering a queen trade. Vincent instantly takes it. Bishop takes. Now, opposite colored bishops often tend to lead to drawish positions. But here, we still have other pieces on the board, and one mustn't forget that. Vincent goes king d2. But now the bishop is a monster on e4. Like, the piece quality of each of black's pieces is just so good. Bishop e4, attacking the knight on f3. He goes rook g3, defends the knight here on f3. And now knight e7, very nice. Actually, the thing is, knight a5 also was a strong move. But Pragg is going to e7. He wants to attack the rook here and win the knight. g6 played by Vincent. Whew. Well, he's making square for his knight to jump here. That's the point here. And if you take knight g6, there's knight g5. There's no time for knight f5 here because of g7 also entering into the scene. He goes bishop takes g6, and rightly so. Rook comes back to g1. Now you've given back your pawn, but at least you are having this g5 square for your knight, which is a nice thing for you. But now knight g5, the problem is rook d3 enters. That is not what you want again. So he goes rook g3, offers a trade. Maybe you take it. That's not a bad decision. But look at the times on the clock. 7 minutes for Vincent, 5 minutes for Praggnanandhaa, 11 more moves to make until move 40. So time is definitely going to play a role here. Vincent offers another rook trade. And will Pragg accept it? I believe for Pragg, trading here doesn't make too much sense. He goes rook h3 again. Well, repetition. Perhaps rook g3. And now the rook comes back to h7. So Pragg goes back here, and I think this is a useful move. Later on, you can double in some tactics. The rook is defended. Like for example, rook h1, you have the rook defended here. He goes knight c6. And Vincent once again has problems with the knight jumping here. What a beautiful move, bishop e3. So if knight a5, you have knight d4 defending here. So that was a good move by Vincent. King d7. Pragg knows how to keep that pressure going without really revealing his cards. He just connects the rooks now. Rook g3 again played by Vincent. He's trying to hang in there. We are on move 34. He's already down to 2 minutes 42 seconds. Praggnanandhaa has 3 minutes 21 seconds. Rook h5 played, attacking the pawn on e5. Maybe rook g5. now doesn't make sense because of take and knight e5 hanging. The bishop has moved from d4. So he goes rook g4. Not a great move there by Vincent. Praggnanandhaa writes down the move. He feels it. He feels the momentum shifting in his favor. He goes rook h8, doubling down the h file. Again asking a question to Vincent. 5 more questions for Vincent before he gets 30 extra minutes. Rook f4 played. The rook now defends the knight. Well, it's okay placed on f4, keeping pressure. Now knight a5, attacking the b3 pawn. Could be an idea. Plays it. Knight a5 with 1 minute 42 seconds. Vincent has only 33 seconds left. How do you defend the d4 pawn? He goes rook b4. The problem, of course, with knight d4 was that the e5 pawn was hanging. So he goes here, defends it. But now, the next move that comes in, very powerful. Pragg finds it, rook f5. Again, excellent move. Knight moves, the e5 pawn hangs. If you defend it with king, bishop h5 is a monster pin. Knight d4 played. But now, Pragg is going to win the pawn. It's just incredible how Praggnanandhaa has managed to completely outwit his opponent. Like, where was Vincent's error? I believe Vincent's error was just not trying to get some play. Somewhere a5, give up a pawn. Get the play rolling. But Vincent was a bit too sort of wanted material. Now c4 played. This is 39th move. But it's already game over. Because black has a very, very powerful move. He can even take the pawn on c4 here, which is a very strong move. But Pragg finds amazing move. Rook e4. If cd5, there is e5. And you lose material here. That's the key point. So rook b5 played. And now, okay, e5. Maybe there's rook d5 check. It's move number 40. But Pragg simply takes on c4 and asks Vincent, well, with all the time that you have in the world now, 30 extra minutes, what are you going to do? Because you are losing all your pawns. He's already a pawn down. He's going to lose another pawn. Rook d1 played here. And I believe for a player of Pragg's caliber, this position is just all over. Rook d1. I mean, there's so many ways to continue. Pragg decides to take on b3. And now knight takes b3. He takes here. The pawn on a4 is hanging. He goes king c3 with a check. And well, Pragg is going to spot all the tactics now. King c6 played. And after king takes knight, which is the most logical move, you're already 2 pawns down. But there is another tactic which is just incredible. Rook takes a4, because if king a4, there is bishop check. And you win the third pawn here. Pragg finds it. Rook a4 on the board. What a move there. And now the rook is hanging on b5. So there's no time for even this check. I think Vincent's just going to resign here. And he does so. Praggnanandhaa wins. What a victory this was. Like, somewhere you realize that Vincent is known for his positional play. He's known for excellent understanding